3 videos capturing on camera 3 astonishing moments. They've got the experts talking. Now see for yourself some of the most unsettling images on the web. The Raffles Hotel in Singapore. 4 security cameras survey the area around the elevator. In the bottom right, for a second, a light appears.
Did you hear that?
In the US, a man appears to have heard something in his house. In the corner, what looks like the figure of a child.
Right outside the door.
The man goes back for a second look. Gettysburg, USA, and a family focus on movement in the bushes. On the left of the shot behind the rock, there is apparently a 10-foot drop. But whatever is moving beyond it got these amateur cameramen asking questions.
I'm going to challenge you. Let's see if you can watch this whole list and not show any outward signs of getting nervous. Number 5. This video is just one big safety violation that will leave your hands especially sweaty if you're at all afraid of heights. Even if you aren't remotely afraid of heights in the least, I guarantee that experiencing this situation for yourself would give you a fear of them really quick. Alright, so these guys are done work for the day and the only thing left for them to do is to take apart this platform and go home. Surely the first step is to get off of it and safely lift it over the ledge together as a team, right? Nah, let's make 2 workers stand on it and do all of the work instead. The first thing they need to do is bang apart this giant bar with a hammer. The same bar that's reinforcing the platform they're standing on and making sure they don't fall. They've already taken 1 bar off, so now it's time to do the other. Before I even attempt to explain what they do next, I want to point out how badly one of the platforms wobbles at 3 seconds when one of them kneels down. That's way too much shaking when you're up that high, and exactly why the bars they just removed were there to begin with. You don't want any shaking at all. The guy next to him can't grab the bar fast enough when it shakes. By the way, tell me how many feet in the air you think they are. High enough is my answer. Okay, so both reinforcement bars are up and over. The first phase is finished. Now let's up the ante and make this twice as terrifying. They both reach down and pull up on the platform to reveal it's actually nothing more than 2 sections of thin material that isn't even bolted down. It just sits in place until you lift it. I just want to say that one more time. These planks were sitting on top of the bars, not bolted in or anything. Then they have to somehow raise it over their heads without falling over. Now has to be when they finally climb up and pull the rest of it over the ledge. But no, not at all. If you thought that their job was bad so far, wait until you see what they have to do next. They must very carefully step onto the round steel pipe, a steel pipe that could slip from their boots at any moment, mind you, and then pick up the final section, the one that they were just on. Look how much dust comes off it at 39 seconds. I know this is a construction site and all, but this thing they're standing on looks really brittle and old. And look at this super unsafe maneuver they pull at 40 seconds. The construction worker closest to us holds on to the board between his knees, while his partner passes the top end for a third worker to grab. To make matters worse, to be fair, they are both wearing harnesses that in theory would stop their fall, but all that means is that they would be left dangling high in the air by a cord, and that's in the best case scenario. In reality, I don't think a company that lets their workers act like this is very concerned about keeping up-to-date safety equipment, so their harnesses are probably next to useless. And it looks like things just get even crazier from there. Right before the video ends, they put their feet down on a peg and a little rope comes down, but they never show what it's used for. It doesn't look like there are any parts left for them to remove, so what they intend to wrap this rope around is unclear. They never do show what happens next, and I was left filled with anxiety, so I was hoping you could help me get rid of it by telling me what you think they were about to use the rope for, and how you think they were going to get out of that situation without falling off. Number 4. Oathkeeper of Idaho suspects something has been living with him in his townhome since March 31st of 2020. It all started when his motion-activated camera detected this odd shadow signature at 2:30 a.m. It freaked him out for a while, but the incident faded from his memory over the weeks until something else happened to remind him of it on April 26th. It looks like there'd be enough room to hide back there and fake this video by pulling the lever, but I'm not sure. I was wondering if his couch had paranormal attachment or something, but this next video clears up what's really going on. 12:41 a.m. on March 13th is when he sees his neighbors leaving their apartment late at night. The only problem is that the elderly man and his wife recently passed away. No one lives there, and that's the key word. Lives. This definitely looks like it could be a shadow figure, possibly the same shadow figure that he found in his apartment months and months before. The very next day, his motion-activated CCTV system records this mysterious black shape float up and disappear when it gets to the door of his white car. It seems like the shadow person is helping itself to his couch and now his car. Or it could just be an insect walking across the lens. I'm not sure. That's when Oathkeeper of Idaho decides to review his video archive for more evidence and retrieves this incident captured on March 18th. A child passes by 5:45 in the morning. She barely gets on camera when this much larger shadow follows her seconds later. It doesn't belong to anyone, and I think they could be walking behind the camera if this was mounted on the side of a townhouse. By May 24th, it was back in his house again. His camera detects a human-sized figure that's as tall as the door, and within the green borders I can barely make out a faint white mist. Now Oathkeeper of Idaho is on guard. He buys a smoke machine, the kind used for concerts and plays, and 2 days later fogs out his townhouse, hoping to trace the outlines of any figures for his motion camera to detect more easily. With his house full of smoke, he catches this fleeting apparition trying to streak away and knows he has a paranormal problem. It only seems to come out from midnight on. None of his videos happen during the day. It always wants to head up the steps towards his room. Again, straight up the steps it goes. Only one, always. And I doubt this is a dust particle because not even abandoned houses have dust particles that are this big. If this is just random dust, then it's weird how it's always moving in the same direction. And it's not just his townhouse or the surrounded lot that's haunted. Not even his landlord's office is safe. Here you can see the lights are obviously out, but what's that in the mirror? It's the reflection of the chandelier lights that apparently aren't out after all. By June 11th, the spirit seems to have made itself totally at home. It walks around the corner as indicated by 2 green motion boxes, and then turns around to go up the stairs. You can see the area lighten just after the shadow person moves up the stairs. But at the same time, I'm wondering if maybe he just opened up a door at the top of the stairs and let some light in. And it seems to be growing bolder and stronger as well, no longer afraid to show itself during daylight hours. It walks right in through the door like it owns the place and forms another green motion detection box. It darkens the wall as it passes. I was almost positive that this was just sunlight coming from the door until I saw what happens when it gets to the other side. This strange black shape pokes up from behind the stairway and goes back under. The only explanation I have for this is maybe it's the tail of his cat, but given the context of everything else that has gone on since the passing of his neighbors, I think we all know that this latest sighting is not because of a household pet. Number 3. Taiwanese culture holds a deep reverence for the spirit world along with a healthy fear of them too. There's a 30-day supernatural celebration in Taiwan called Ghost Month. But for the rest of the year it is considered somewhat taboo to brazenly investigate the paranormal like most other countries do. A YouTube channel called Ghost Hunter. They have been documenting the afterlife in Taiwan for over 4 years. On December 24th, 2015, Ghost Hunter heads to an abandoned hospital that was once used to treat patients with leprosy. Their skin would waste away due to a condition that causes leaking lesions to appear all over the body. Ghost Hunter sets up a camera in this area, but I'm not sure why this room is so important. Something especially bad must have happened in here, so try to translate this phrase at the bottom to help us better understand. I do see what appears to be a partially concealed face in the window. Very short, perhaps the spirit of a child. Ghost Hunter puts another camera in this second room. I can see someone peeking through the window here, this time a tall woman. Also, translate this phrase, the phrase at the bottom if you can. Meanwhile, something is with Ghost Hunter in the hallways. His equipment further confirms its presence, but then it abruptly leaves him be. Room after room of dreary medical equipment all give off the same bad feeling. He is nervous, but he seems to have a final destination in mind, because he skips a lot of rooms and looks determined to find one place in particular. Eventually he grows fairly lost, and at the height of his confusion he encounters something at 11 minutes and 49 seconds. He makes his way to the first room and waits for whatever's in this hospital with him to find him again. The plan works.
OK， 第一个答案是有的。
He feels a force pulling him from the room, guiding him somewhere. At 22 minutes and 54 seconds, he misses a small round face looking at him from around the corner. A very young child, probably the same one who was looking through the window earlier. And when he goes back to the second room, the same tall woman is standing in the window at 23 minutes and 48 seconds. But half a minute later, she's gone and Ghost Hunter is by himself once again. You don't need to go all the way to an abandoned hospital in the middle of nowhere to find a ghost. There are areas far more accessible to the public, like this haunted bathroom on North Yee Road. Ghost Hunter sets up his equipment and only gets a few steps outside before his K2 meter reveals a nearby spirit for a full 40 seconds. The team is casually exploring the rest of the property when they inadvertently record this supernatural sighting.
里面不知道是哪一道门哦，有一个敲门声，就这样，刚刚好像敲那个因为那个木门嘛。
It looks like a long, skinny arm, more like a tendril than a limb, and it reaches out for them 2 times. What could possibly be moving like that? They go back inside and detect a higher than normal amount of electromagnetic energy. They narrow it down to one area with the most activity and soon get a sign that they're on the right path.
12点钟了，然后我们在准备的时候，灯就突然间开了，所以有点古怪，然后我们也没有其他人在。
The camera freezes and they get a spike of paranormal energy. What is she saying to make this happen?
再等这几分钟，再说这1分钟，2下。
Meanwhile, he is in a different stall and gets a spike at the same time. However, he does have his phone in hand when he's adjusting equipment, so maybe that's what causes the spike to occur. Probably not though, because the motion detector they left outside of the stall goes off when he looks over and sees that.
没有声音。
Water is running from one of them, like somebody was just using it. Number 2. Here's a supremely suspenseful video that I need your help to properly explain and identify. It's really weird and definitely not something you'd see every day. The setting is somewhere exotic, possibly the rainforest of New Guinea. One person is standing over another person in the water, and a third man watches like he's on the lookout. The man in red tells the man with no shirt on to go underwater, and he understands he must do as told. He takes a deep breath and goes completely under. I don't know if they're punishing him or what, but any number of creepy things could be in that water, from piranha to parasites to leeches. My point is, it's definitely not a river you want to dunk your head under for a single second. He's beneath the surface for a really long period of time. Too long. And just when you think he's about to take in a lungful of bacteria-infested water, there's a great deal of movement from below and he comes back up thrashing. Something is in the water with them. Something from around here, I think. Right around the opening of this fallen tree. Whatever it is, they're scared of it and they want to get away. The person in a red shirt does a funny looking run out of the water, and that's when you see he's actually holding on to a cord of some kind. It looks like they are a team of 3 working together to pull something from under that tree. As they bring it to shore, you can see a waterlogged body covered in mud. Its lifeless arms floating to the surface. Only when it gets closer to the shore and unfolds do I realize that I'm only half right. It's a body alright, but it's a snake, not a person. A giant anaconda to be precise, and it's fighting against its restraints. I guess the person with no shirt was brave enough to go into the snake den and loop a cord around it, but that only raises more questions like why are these guys going into the water and pulling out live snakes to begin with? How did they even know it was there and what are they going to do with it? The 3 of them overpower it and hold it up in victory. This is obviously a triumphant moment to them and they seem to be in high spirits over this whole event. I can think of a couple of reasons as to why they'd be willing to risk their lives to grab a snake. Maybe they're doing it for sport, which is absolutely insane to me, but possible I guess. Or maybe it's been a threat for a while and they are going to relocate it to a safe place away from their society. I wouldn't be surprised if they had been tracking it for days and are relieved to have gotten it before it ate anyone, especially them. If you know what they're doing here or have a theory about this video, then tell me what you think they were up to. I can't say that I've ever seen anyone catch a snake in this way, and I would be surprised if they ever pull this off again, but it sure was crazy to watch. I've got a challenge for you. Since you've made it this far, why not like this video and hit subscribe in the next 5 seconds? Because Chills uploads 4 new scary videos every week. Becky is the name of a cursed doll who always does as she's told. Her most recent owner is Jerry, and she has formed a strong connection with him if these videos are to be believed.
Okay, I got it recording now. Becky, if I was you, Do that one more time, please. That was, whatever that was impressive. Make those lights light all the way up like you just did, and hold them.
And that wasn't just a one-time occurrence either.
Do that again, Becky. Try not light yellow for me if you're here. Okay, that was green. Can you do yellow? Push a little harder.
Jerry doesn't go into any of her history, but she has piercing blue eyes and a serious expression that can make you feel nervous if you look for too long. And she doesn't play well with others. She only likes Jerry. To further demonstrate, he sets up a Morty doll for her that she likes to push around for fun. She's already done it once before tonight, and so he tells her to do it again, this time with the camera running for proof.
You knocked him off your shelf last time. Can you do it again?
The Morty doll has a big head, so maybe it's a little top heavy and fell over on its own. Otherwise, Becky definitely pushed it. Over a month later, he decides to test it out again with something different. This time he puts a smaller object in such a way that it would be very hard to push over. He tells Becky to do her thing.
Can you knock it over?
The doll thinks it over for a bit and decides it has an even better plan. Becky takes the spirit box and tips it over, and I think it really might be her because the spirit box lights up right before it tips over. The light never went on before. Maybe Becky couldn't make the spirit box work and knocked it over out of frustration. Or maybe she was just messing with Jerry by knocking over something different than what he had asked for. Either way, I don't see how that spirit box could fall backwards on its own, especially when the EMF meter next to it remains upright. But Jerry keeps working with her and soon Becky seems to gain control over the spirit box and uses it to talk to him.
Becky, are you here right now?
Becky's voice is very distant and muffled at first, but the spirit gains clarity over time. He learns that she is possessed by a spirit who met their end in a gruesome way, and he gets another scary response on that same day. It sounds to me like it's Becky's distant scream. Keep in mind, these recordings are taken weeks apart and it's always the same voice. Never once has a different voice come through the spirit box. It's always Becky talking. Kind of makes you wonder. And I'll end this entry by pointing out that not every encounter with Becky has to do with screaming. One moment would almost be tender if it wasn't so creepy and weird. After weeks of forging a close friendship, Jerry has a special request that he hopes Becky can understand and follow through with. A question that's much more important than if she can change lights to different colors.
Can you come out and touch my hand?
A lone orb crosses past Becky and then floats directly into the center of his hand. I don't think he was really expecting to get a serious answer, but that doesn't matter. He got one and the bond is complete. Hopefully Becky really is a good spirit like Jerry thinks she is. If not, then this is a perfect example of how easy it is for a demonic force to get people to let their guard down. I guess I'm more cold-hearted than Jerry, because there's no way I would invite a spirit who can move objects and met a gruesome end to touch me in any way, shape, or form. But this scary video doesn't seem to cause him anxiety at all.